We need to talk about the NGA, the father-son picks that we've got coming up at the end of the year and what that means for the 2025 draft. Now, you've probably heard a few names shouted out over the last couple of, probably even the last week or so. We've got a Zack McCarthy, Thomas McGuane, and Jai Saxena. I hope I pronounced his surname right, and Oscar Loney. Now, those four guys, two father-sons, obviously, you got Tommy McGuane and Oscar Loney, the son of Ryan Loney and the son of Mick McGuane. And then you got two NGA prospects in Jai Saxena and Zack McCarthy. Now, we'll start with the NGA players. You're probably thinking, what is the NGA? Well, back in 2012, Collingwood started a Peter Dacos Academy for upcoming father-sons at the time. So, you know, Nick and Josh Dacos, Darcy Moore, Will Kelly, all these other past players having their sons in an academy training from when they were young. Then they changed it to not only include father-sons, but it was father-daughters as well with the introduction of our AFLW team. And then it was First Nation participants as well as culturally diverse participants. So you would remember that Isaac Quaynor was picked up as an NGA Academy because of his Ghanaian heritage. Jai Saxena is in there because of his Indian and Vietnamese heritage. And then you've got Zack McCarthy as another NGA prospect. All these players looking very, very good, and they're who we're all talking about at the moment. But we've also got two sneaky other players in this year's draft that haven't sort of been talked about because we didn't pick them up last year, but we can pick them up as top ages. I think they'll be about 19 at the end of this year in the draft. Looking at Luke Quaynor, brother of Isaac, who is an NGA prospect, and Doug Kerr, who is also an NGA prospect. Now, that gives us 6 players that we could potentially pick up. Do we pick up 6 players? I'm not sure, but maybe some of those players could be picked up in the rookie draft. So there could be spots happening. And remember, we will have list spots open. It's just about getting the correct amount of draft picks. You can go into a draft deficit, but that's absolutely crazy stuff. Now, I will be going a little bit more in depth on point values, how these players play, how we could potentially get them in another video with another YouTuber that does draft content, just because I know sweet F all about it. You know that I know nothing about it, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know anything about it. But what I wanted to do in this video was explain the NGAs and tell you a little bit about these players before we go into another video about them. Now, Tom McGuane, 178 centimeters, midfielder, played for the Western Jets, or plays for the Western Jets. Over the weekend, he had 30 in a loss. It was a 50-point loss, 38 disposals, 6 inside 50s, 3 rebounds from 50s, and 3 tackles. Now, they're saying that he could go top 15, which is absolutely incredible. He's been training with the Collingwood team for the last couple of months. He's in and out of training with the seniors. So he's going to be learning from the likes of Pendlebury, Nick Dacos, Steele, and that knowledge is just unsurmountable. Like, this is why we kept these older players on. And Craig McRae has said that a lot of the time. It's not just, because we can't fill their spot or we don't want to get rid of them at all. It's just because their experience, like imagine a young kid coming in, Will Hayes, Charlie West, Cochrane, these young kids coming in and learning from guys that have been doing it for almost, well, Pendlebury has been doing it for 20 years, but almost 20 years, to Jeremy Howe, all these players. And I think that's just such, just invaluable knowledge to have when these players, these young players, do train with the seniors. So Tommy McGuane is going to be incredible, outstanding. He will be a father-son selection, so if a bid comes on him, we do have to match that draft pick. We'll talk about that right at the end of this video. Another guy I want to talk about is Zack McCarthy. Now, Zack McCarthy is 199 centimeters, forward ruck. I've heard that he plays a little bit like Brodie Grundy. Over the weekend, 21 disposals, kicked a goal, but he's been taking contested marks, handball chains. He's been kicking a couple of bags of goals as well for the Oakley Chargers. So here's another one that's going to be right up there. We've been void of talls recently, especially tall forwards, and we picked up Charlie West. And Charlie West, McCarthy, these guys could be the future of our forward line. Then you have Oscar Steen and Illaru Smith that come up as our ruckmen. So, they're saying, they're going to fall off a cliff. I don't think so, mate. We've got depth coming out of the wazoo, as I've said before. Now, the guy that's really interesting to me is Saxena. On the weekend, he kicked 5 goals to 17 disposals and a bunch of marks. Now, there was an article that came out for him today via the Herald Sun, and his coach was saying that he went from being a 3 disposal, 3 goal player to now a 20 disposal, 5 goal player, and he's just shot up out of nowhere. So there wasn't really any sort of talk about Collingwood picking him up, but over the last few weeks, he's just been kicking goals as that's forward, and he's just come right out of the woodwork, shot him right up the draft ranks. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see the order that we pick him. If there's any bids, I'm going to assume that Zack, McCarthy, Tommy McGuane do get bids on, hoping Jai sort of falls off down to the bottom. Can pick him up for cheap, don't have to get rid of draft picks to match a bid. Now, the last guy in this group of 4 is Oscar Loney. So Loney is a mid, had 50 disposals on the weekend. Hasn't really been much talk about him, but he's definitely a good prospect to be looking at. Could be lower down the draft, could be rookie selected, which will be interesting to see. But he is another father-son selection. At the top of the video, I talked about Doug Kerr and Luke Quaynor. Luke Quaynor will be 19 by the time, or thereabouts by the time the draft comes. Small back pocket, looks absolutely incredible. Played with the VFL side last season. He's doing some work now in the Coates League and stuff like that. So he's going to be one to look out for, a small back pocket. Someone where, if Maynard does leave, we have that guy that can fit into that back pocket. Jeremy Howe, not that he plays like Jeremy Howe, but if we need someone in that back pocket, Luke Quaynor could be that guy. And Doug Kerr is another guy that's an absolute monster in the forward line. Did do his ACL last year, so he is coming off an ACL injury. He's getting all that taken care of by Collingwood at the moment, because obviously in the NGA Academy. And then he will play for the Oakley Chargers this season. So we haven't seen much of those two boys at the moment, but it will be interesting when they do come back and they're fully fit and ready to go. There's six players that we could potentially pick up. Now, you're probably watching this and going, Luke, how the hell do we pick up? We don't even have a first round draft pick. We got rid of it for Dan Houston. What's going to happen? I think there's going to be, I think it all rests on Braden Maynard. Now, if Maynard leaves, we probably get a high second round, or you're hoping a first round draft pick, depending on the length of the contract and how much he gets paid by North. There's rumors that it's 6 years with 1.1 a year. If that happens, I'm pretty sure it's band 1. The AFL have all these different dumb calculations that they sort of use, and I've got to find out how that actually works. We'll talk about it in another video though. But that could happen, and this year is when you can start trading 2 years in advance. So that's going to be really interesting. And Justin Lepich, just incredible. What he's been able to do, he's a shark. He's a trade shark, a draft shark. So he's going to work his magic to get at least 3 of these 6 players, hoping for 4 or 5. Remember the rookie draft as well, that we can fit, if we start, who knows if Ash Johnson and Oleg Markov, who are on the rookie list at the moment, stay there next season. There's a couple of other players on there as well, like Charlie Dean. You could pick up those 3 guys if they don't get taken. So there are different avenues, but it is about, again, getting those draft points, because you used to be able to match a bid with a 20% discount in the first round, but now it's only a 10% discount. And from this year, 2025, the DVI, which is the draft value index, will be reduced. So they've set an example out here. So you can go into a deficit limit of 1,723 points, but as of this year, that deficit will be only 1,167 points with the same amount of picks. So everything is going less. So last year in 2024, the first 73 picks had a value index, so they had a number attached to it, a points attached to it. This year in 2025, only the first 54 picks will have a number attached to it, which is going to be absolutely nuts, especially for bidding. There's a lot of math involved. Like, for example, in the current model, let's say pick 19 in 2024 was worth 948 points. Pick 19 in 2025 is worth 796 points. So you're going to be needing more draft picks to bid on higher players. So that's going to be like, if Nick Dacos was going to us this year, we would have needed to use a lot more picks than we did when we picked him up at pick 4 a couple of years ago. Same with the academy picks for Gold Coast, Essendon. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that makeup looks like. Expect trades, free agency. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on because this year we could potentially have given away our first round draft pick, but picked up a first round player in Tommy McGuane, and I reckon Zack McCarthy is up there somewhere as well. Look, guys, hopefully this wasn't too convoluted. Just wanted to come on here, talk about those 6 players. There will be another video coming later on. It'll be after Anzac Day with someone who knows exactly what they're talking about. So watch out for that. There's also a documentary coming out this week. So definitely watch out for that. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.